It's easy to make fun of a movie franchise that is so popular and overplayed and in every single shop window on every single high street, and it's also so incredibly easy and fun to rip a film like this apart and just nitpick about how the plot is unfocused and the songs are fastidious at best. Sequels are often compared to its predecessor and very rarely judged on their own merit. Frozen is very rarely looked upon without also looking at how Disney is milking this popsicle stick for every single drop it can get. Setting all that aside though, this was a movie I was very much looking forward to. I saw the first movie twice in cinemas, having never read The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen, which Frozen is very loosely based on. I wanted to make sure I had the same experience going into this film, and I tried my best to avoid spoilers as much as possible, because sadly, every single movie I wanted to see this year was spoiled for me, as were the finales of TV shows that were ending this year too. I wanted to go into this film with a clear head, so I also didn't watch Frozen before seeing it. I didn't want to compare the sequel to the first movie the entire time. But just a heads up, there will be spoilers ahead, so please don't watch this video if you haven't seen the movie yet. Alright, so what's it about? The story is about Queen Elsa and her sister Princess Anna. People keep calling them both princesses and that drives me up the I mean, there's literally a coronation within the first 10 minutes of the first film. Who set off to find out the truth about their past and what really happened to their parents and why Elsa has powers in the first place. So, in typical Disney fashion, we get a flashback showing the two sisters as kids before Elsa accidentally hurts Anna with her powers. Their dad, King Agnar, tells them a story about a magical forest where this tribe of people live using the magic out of respect of nature, and tells the two sisters how the tribe and Arendelle's soldiers became friends. But then something went wrong and the magic of the forest turned against them, trapping the tribe behind a magical force field. I'm gonna call it force field. Their mother, Queen Iduna, sings them a haunting lullaby, which kind of reminds me of the song that Queen Eleanor sung to Merida in Brave. Yeah, as I said earlier, the plot feels very unfocused and needlessly drama heavy. It doesn't have the same fun and whimsical mystery that the first movie had, and though it does have characters at war with themselves, I just didn't get the same psychological connection. The movie implies it's going to explain how Elsa got her powers, and though the movie does do that, I feel that the story of this secret tribe and enchanted forest was a little more complicated than it really needed to be. Maybe the movie should have shown Elsa as a baby, and if she had her powers then, or gained them as she grew older. That would have been interesting to see. Or show how her parents met the trolls, and show the trolls trying to help the king and queen by telling them about the four elements then, and showing them making the choice to hide the enchanted forest from Elsa and Anna in the first place. Because after all, the trolls did serve merely as expositional dialogue in the first movie, so why not do the same here, instead of lumping it on the king? Maybe show that their parents hid this place from the two sisters deliberately, and then show how their mother, Iduna, is connected to this forest too. I didn't really understand the connection that Iduna had, or whether she had powers or not. We never really see that per se. But I suppose the movie does explain why Elsa has powers, but why doesn't Anna? That's never really explained here, but what the film does have is an epic world-expanding adventure that explores the four base elements: air, fire, water, and earth. And everything changed when Disney bought Marvel. Having a franchise focus on a sister dynamic instead of a love interest is Frozen's biggest strength to me. The other strength it has is how it uses symbolism. The first movie uses doors to symbolize whether you let someone in or keep them out. Yeah, I know it's kind of obvious, it is a literal, it is a figurative door, but it's represented in a literal, never mind. And the two sisters represent each side of the same door. In the sequel, the sisters represent two sides of the same bridge between two different cultures. The movie also uses a dam at first as a symbol of peace and safety, but later it is a symbol of trickery and lies, and how the dam must be destroyed before a figurative bridge can be built between the two tribes, and by extension, between the two sisters. The first movie was very much more focused on Princess Anna, who was trying to reconnect with her sister. The sequel, though, focuses in more on Queen Elsa and her inner struggles in figuring out why she has powers, and figuring out the truth about what really happened to her parents. Meanwhile, Anna is inadvertently holding Elsa back from learning all of this, and Elsa has to leave her behind. To me, Queen Elsa is someone who is relatable because of how insecure she is, in spite of her magical powers. She clearly has some kind of social anxiety, so that is pretty relatable. To me, Frozen is about empowerment in both the literal and figurative sense, but it's also about acceptance of things you can't change and embracing the inevitable realities of life. But let's get to what most people are probably wondering about what I think. The music. The songs in this film aren't as memorable as the songs in the first film are, so I'm not going to mention them all, but I think to me the first movie felt much more like a Broadway musical, but here the songs feel much more akin to literature than a Broadway show. They don't feel as cinematic or theatrical to me, but much more plot-serving. Yeah, the songs are very fastidious, as I've already said before. To me, songs shouldn't just serve the plot, but also keep the plot moving. And there are some songs in this movie that just stop the movie dead. One song in particular that Kristoff sings when he gets separated from Anna. Kristoff is basically in this movie to serve as the B-plot, where he keeps trying to propose to Anna. It kind of reminded me of The Rescuers Down Under and how Bernard kept trying to propose to Bianca while they were in Australia. In that film I was frustrated for Bernard, but for Kristoff, I was just annoyed by him. We really didn't need this B-plot. Kristoff deserves better than this. Also, I feel it would have been much better if he proposed at Anna's coronation at the end of the film when he was all dressed up, instead of when the sisters had reunited again shortly after saving Arendelle. I also feel like there was a scene missing here, like a goodbye scene between the two sisters, because Elsa is going to live in the tribe, whereas Anna is going to be Queen of Arendelle. There just seems to be an emotional beat that was completely skipped here. The song itself that Kristoff sings, though, is a parody of a cheesy 90s boy band song or an 80s glam rock music video. It's so bizarre and silly that it really messed up the tone of the movie for me. But on saying that, even if it doesn't quite fit into this movie, it's still a really fun song and a hilarious scene at that. I loved it for its cheese, but hated it because it didn't serve the plot at all. It just didn't belong here. Also, I swear, at one point, I thought Olaf was the best thing in this movie. Olaf is put to far better use in this movie than he was in the first one. There's a scene where they first meet the Tri People and they ask where Elsa learned her magic, and Olaf decides to recite the entire plot of the first movie as fast and dramatically as possible, like he's a little kid performing for his family or something. It was adorable and funny, but it also imbued the movie with a much needed sense of self-awareness and cynicism. Speaking of self-awareness, there's a scene where Elsa is walking through a huge room where her memories are being shown as moving ice sculptures. One of them is Hans, which she destroys, and another one of her where she is singing Let It Go, which she flinches at. I like a film that acknowledges itself like this, even if it did do Let It Go Mark II with the song Into the Unknown. And again later with the far superior Show Yourself song, which I have to admit had me tearing up in the cinema. Is it fully excusable? Probably not, but it still put a smile on my face. For me, Frozen 2 more than surpasses the first movie. It has its problems, sure, but for me there was so much more to keep me interested here. The relationship between the two sisters, Elsa's constant internal battle with her own fears and insecurities, Anna's naivety and bravery and her utter devotion to her sister, and Olaf being a literal unexplained phenomenon, having the innocence of a child but the intelligence and curiosity of a modern day physicist who constantly questions the root or ultimate causes of life, was just so entertaining. Of course, I can't write a script on this film without mentioning how beautiful the animation is. Oh my god, how? Just how? It's all so top quality stuff. I'd be more than happy to watch it on mute and I'd still be in awe of this movie. Am I wincing at the inevitability of another case of Frozen fever? Yes, but at least this time we're better prepared for it, and in my opinion, this movie more than deserves the attention. Go and give it a watch, guys, if you haven't already done it. I'm Mad Munchkin. Stay creative.